What's going on, everybody? It is your host, Dr. Splash, and I'm working on several projects right now for the channel. Recent comic just dropped literally explaining how the current DC meta and cosmology works. So what we're going to do today is review this comic. We're going to review the new evidence and some evidence from recent comics. And overall, I hope today I can give you a very clear picture on how the current DC cosmology stands. If you love content like this, if you love updates on your favorite comics and all that, make sure to like and subscribe. 400 likes would be absolutely amazing. You guys constantly ask for cosmology updates. So here we go. I'm going to read some important pages from the recent comic, as well as some of the other pages from other accompanying works. And at the end and during the read through, I will explain why this all matters. Without further ado, let's begin. First up, this is being narrated by Barry Allen. Now, Wally's been getting a lot of wank recently, but Barry's going to get some shine here as the one that's kind of narrating how the cosmology works. My name is Barry Allen. Once I was the Flash, the fastest man alive. I'm retired now, but in my day, I probably saw more of the multiverse, past, present, and future, than anyone who ever lived. Along the way, I've also been involved in crisis-level events that have, at times, made history a little malleable, like a story given subtle differences by multiple narrators. That makes me uncomfortable. I prefer my history structured, documented. That's why, as its most traveled witness, it's my responsibility to record it. Now, with this page, it's pretty simple. Everything makes sense. I mean, Barry, whether you love him or hate him, given his narrative purpose throughout the years, obviously he probably has seen the most out of the multiverse. So it would track that he's probably best equipped to examine it and record it in the modern landscape. Next page. In the beginning, there was the source, the infinite force of creation. Its cosmic agents, celestial beings called the Hands, shaped its energy into the Big Bang that we know as the dawn of time. Now, just with this passage alone, don't get it confused with like the Big Bang from our real universe. This Big Bang literally produced narratives, metas, all these things, because nothing really existed before that. Perpetua, one of these beings, entrusted the multiverse's three realms, matter, antimatter, and dark matter, to her sons, the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger, before being banished for attempting to meddle with creation. The Big Bang gave rise to stars, planets, and the endless, 7 powerful entities who each represented an aspect of this new reality. Among them were Destiny, Death, and the Dream Lord, master of his realm, the Dreaming. Now, some people might be confused by this. Hey, why is the cosmic Big Bang the one that produced history, creation itself? Why is that associated with the Endless? First of all, confirming the Endless will be playing a part in the modern DC landscape is exciting. That is fun. I think people generally like the Sandman, Cosmos, and Mythos and what it adds to DC. So seeing it being brought in like this, I think is a very good positive. On top of that, it would make sense that they appeared when history itself appeared, because how could you have destiny, fate, or death if nothing exists, you know? So existence being tied to them coming forth makes sense. It doesn't limit their power or make them weak. It just means they didn't really need to exist before the things that they give purpose to did. Now let's examine the next page. At the heart of creation lay the gleaming silver city, fortress for the angels of heaven. There, Lucifer Morningstar lost a war in heaven against his brother, the Archangel Michael. Lucifer and his soldiers were cast into hell, where they were reborn as the first demons. Now, this is interesting because, there's the first of the fallen mythos. He was the original demon, then Lucifer was cast out. There's stuff like that, but it seems that they're primarily going with Lucy being the OG, which I'm not too mad at. Maybe they will address the first of the fallen mythos and where exactly it fits into this soon, with them this literally just popping out as a book. But it's dope to see Lucifer as well is confirmed to be popping back into the fold, so to speak. One of the fallen angels, Galad, was transformed by Michael, into the instrument of God's wrath, today known as Eclipso, later stripped of his rank by his successor, the fallen angel Astar. Acting as God's instrument of vengeance, Astar is known better as the Spectre. Shortly thereafter, two warring factions of immortal forces, the Lords of Order and Chaos, the first sentient races in the universe, were born on the planet Cilia and would continuously play a vital part in shaping the universe. Now, honestly, nothing too special there. It's kind of consistent with Eclipso being the first of Spectre, and then Spectre eventually coming on, Lord Order and Chaos, all that. All of that's lining up with what's pretty consistent in DC. Next page. In time, on a world called Maltus, the first humanoids evolved. They resettled on the planet Oa, considered to be the center of our cosmos. Mastering immortality, they renamed themselves the Guardians of the Universe and set out to impose order on our still cooling macrocosm. Keep in mind, this is the birth in DC Comics of jobbing, of jobbers. This might be the first recorded instance of the Jobber Corps. The Guardians' first acts were to seal the chaotic magic of the universe within a construct called the Starheart, and to deploy an android law enforcement army known as the Manhunters. Of course, this went terribly wrong. That shit started genociding stuff. You get used to it when you're familiar with the Guardians of the Universe. They never do shit right. But that's some of the new material mapping out how DC is laid out. And it kind of accompanies other materials. For example, 2019, Lucifer kind of talks about how the darkness sprang forth, light and the source, with that kind of be the antithesis to nothing itself. You need something to reflect that. And in New Gods as well, there's more mentions of how the darkness and the source interacts that I want to bring up. The source, I theorize, is a product of a self-referential void. The great darkness could only refer to itself through the presence of another. For total darkness can only be defined as an absence of life, of light. The source is thus pure information, the very first knowledge, untainted ideas, incomprehensible because it is all the many meanings of everything at once. It is the privilege of the gods to touch it, mold it, speak with it, perhaps understand it, even briefly. So this is a little tricky because we're kind of seeing an instance where perhaps it's referring to the void as in the overvoid, or it could be referring as no, that void was actually the great darkness, and that void itself is what produced the source so that it could be self-referential. The void itself would be the darkness in that instance. Let me know in the comment section which side you lean on. Do you think it's referring to the overvoid in terms of the self-referential void, or is it referring in context to the great darkness at that point? Last scan, I kind of want to go over just to kind of confirm that this darkness does predate the source. Here's an interaction between a dark being and High Father. When my world was left in ruins, I too began a journey to seek the means of my salvation. At the end of my search, Isaiah, I found darkness. The darkness that runs through my veins is far older than the power you wield. I denounce your newfound salvation. Your powers hold no sway over me. Come, Nektari, the time of gods is ended. Now, the power running through the veins of High Father is obviously the source. So for the darkness to be vastly older and perhaps stronger than the source, what's that mean? Well, further wank for Superman, as he can hold off the darkness. Hope usurps this. Now, if you want to say hope is tied to stuff like the presence or whatnot, I'm not really trying to argue that. I'm just saying it's kind of crazy that hope, in a sense, and what Superman represents narratively is still beyond all of this stuff we just kind of talked about. At least at what it represents at the end of the day and what Time Trapper Doomsday surmised it would survive. I personally have always held the notion that the presence is not the source. The source is a part of the presence. But it's not like the entirety of the presence and whatnot. I think the presence is beyond the source. So I don't think this means the great darkness is above the source, or above presence, rather. Let me know if you guys think source and presence are the same things. I don't really have them as the same things. I don't believe they were referenced as the same things in this run either. I'm curious to see if they actually show what Presence is up to at this point, in this junction in time. But this is overall how DC is rolling with the multiverse and the cosmology. I'm curious to see what you guys think. If you like how they're laying it out, if you like how Barry's presenting it, let me know. If there's anything you would change or anything you disagree with or find confusing, let me know as well. Make sure to check out my Discord, and I also have community unlocked on my YouTube, which allows you guys to post in my community tab and my community section. So definitely check that out, interact, and let's grow Yancey Street. Anyways, guys, it's been your host, Dr. Slash, and remember, it's Yancey Street, bitches.